Hello, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to another episode of RevUs Reviews. Today, we're looking at one of the few genuinely good vanity projects, a clever, funny, silly, self-aware heist comedy named Hudson Hawk. While Bruce Willis is mainly known for playing average Joe turned action hero John McClane, he's also played many unusual roles, from a wise sage dressed up like the Easter Bunny in North, to a child who becomes a secret agent in the incredibly underrated cartoon show Bruno the Kid, to the inner monologue of a baby in Look Who's Talking 1 and 2. But by far the best role Willis played was the title character in the 1991 comedic heist flick, Hudson Hawk.
1, 2, 3. Tell him, Dan.
Oh, we got a barrel of money. We may be ragged and funny,
but we'll travel along, singing a song,
side by side.
Infamous cat burglar Eddie Hawkins, the titular Hudson Hawk, has just been released from prison and is picked up by his partner in crime, Tommy Five-Tone Messina. After robbing an auction house, Eddie is knocked out and wakes up in an ambulance. He soon gets out and rides a gurney down to the end of the road, where he meets George Kaplan, head of the CIA, and his 4 spies. After getting knocked out again, Hawk wakes up in Rome and is blackmailed by Darwin and Minerva Mayflower, the founders of Mayflower Industries, into stealing the Codex, Leonardo da Vinci's sketchbook. Along the way, Hawk meets Anna Baragli, a charismatic woman who works as an operative for a secret Vatican counteragency. And together, Hudson, Anna, and Tommy work together to stop Darwin and Minerva. Hudson Hawk is the 12-ounce mouse of films, in that there's just nothing like it. The film is in its own little world of lunacy. It's like if you combined Last Action Hero, Mission Impossible, and The Naked Gun into one movie. On top of that, the characters are amazing. Remember in my Last Action Hero review when I said that Bruce Willis wouldn't have made a good Jack Slater because he didn't fit the role the way Arnold did? The same cannot be said for the character of Hudson Hawk. Bruce Willis as Hudson Hawk is one of the best casting choices since Rick Mayall as Drop Dead Fred and Carrot Top as Edison from Chairman of the Board. Willis in this film oozes charisma. In fact, his character is like if the word charisma was a person. On top of that, Hudson Hawk is an interesting and subversive take on the action hero trope. While John McClane is different from most action heroes in that he's just a regular guy, he still follows the typical mold of an action hero: muscular, wisecracking, adrenaline-fueled, and aggressive. Eddie, on the other hand, only exhibits the wisecracking part. He's an incredibly chill, passive guy that gets aggressive only when he needs to be. In fact, he's based more on stealth than action, only fighting when he has to. Moving on to Tommy Messina. Tommy is also a great character. Danny Aiello is great in the role, and I love the chemistry he has with Eddie. They do a really good job of showing how close they are. Anna Baragli is also a pretty cool character. She's kind of like a female version of Hudson Hawk, exhibiting the same cool charisma Willis does. She also has really good romantic chemistry with Eddie, and Andie MacDowell does a good job in the role. The villains are also pretty cool. George Kaplan is a great character, very intimidating, dry, serious, and an enjoyable contrast to the silliness of Eddie and Tommy. Also, Kaplan's 4 CIA agents are extremely interesting characters. Their real names are never revealed, but each of them have their own code name: Snickers, Kit Kat, Almond Joy, and Butterfinger. These 4 are the most interesting characters of the film, and I honestly would love to see a spin-off movie with them. Snickers is the most forgettable out of the 4. He's just a regular baddie with nothing interesting about him. Almond Joy is a little more memorable. She's very intimidating and has some dry, funny lines. Kit Kat is a mute who, despite never speaking, exhibits a lot of personality from his facial expressions and mannerisms. And despite the fact that he works for George Kaplan, he does help Hawk out once in a while. As for Butterfinger, he's a massive idiot who's definitely one of the funniest characters of the film. He's also played by Andrew Brianyarsky, who played Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and Zangief in the Street Fighter Finally, movie. There's Darwin and Minerva Mayflower. The only way these two could be more hammy is if they were made of actual ham. They are insanely funny villains, and it's interesting how they're campy in completely opposite ways. Darwin is a funny kind of campy, very silly and jokey, while Minerva is more angry and emotional, making for two very interesting characters that contrast each other perfectly. Next, let's talk about the comedy. This movie has a very weird sense of humor. While most of the film's humor is centered on witty dialogue and one-liners, the film has two very unusual running gags. The first is Tommy and Eddie's penchant for singing during their heists in order to time them. While this gag is kind of stupid and has some inaccurate information, it's unique, interesting, and fits with the insanity of the movie. The other running gag is Hudson Hawk constantly getting foiled in his attempts to get a cappuccino. You see, Eddie loves cappuccinos, and when he wants to drink one, every time he gets a cappuccino, something stops him from drinking it. This gag is very weird, but it's funny, silly, and again, fits with the movie. It's just a cute little running gag. As for the witty banter, it's really good. Since the three main characters have enough charisma to make Buddy Love look like Dick Grayson, you can suspect that there's a lot of witty banter. And while some of it is kinda stupid, all of it is hilarious. Hudson Hawk has very snappy, cleverly written dialogue filled with witty retorts, funny lines, and stupid one-liners. I mean, where else would you ever hear the line, "Hey Alfred, you won't be attending that hat convention in July"? That's seriously a line in the movie. Now, as good as this film is, there's one problem with it. It is insanely convoluted. So much happens in this movie. I didn't even mention the part where a mob family called the Mario Brothers, yes, seriously, blackmails Hawk, or the fact that Darwin and Minerva want to make a machine that turns lead into gold. That being said, while this film is convoluted, the plot isn't really that hard to understand, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the only problem with it. This movie is fantastic in all other respects. In conclusion, Hudson Hawk is one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. It's funny, it's silly, it's campy, it has fantastic characters, snappy dialogue, and it was even made the same year as Drop Dead Fred, one of my all-time favorite movies. While Die Hard is a good movie with great action and suspense, a likable protagonist, and of course, Hans, Booby, I'm Your White Knight, Hudson Hawk is a masterpiece of self-awareness and campiness. This movie is not Die Hard, and it will never be Die Hard. If you want something different or unique, are a Bruce Willis fan, or are a fan of the sillier Bond movies like Moonraker and Octopussy, check this film out. It's definitely swinging on a star. That's all for now. Join me next time when we take a look at what happens when toys come to life with a vengeance. See you then.